You've lost access to your crypto wallet. What do you do? Today we're joined by Gabriel Smith, a leading crypto recovery expert. If you worry about digital security, this is one you don't want to miss. Hey Gabriel, how's it going?
Hey man, it's going great. Thank you for the intro.
You're welcome. I'm not gonna lie, ChatGPT helped me a lot with it.
My wife told me about ChatGPT, and I've been playing around with it, and it is going to change my life as soon as I figure out how to work it. I can already tell. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been fun because I've been playing with it now for probably a couple years, and it's been a lot of fun just to watch it develop.
Really?
Now you can actually get really good, like even YouTube thumbnails, and it'll make it, and it'll actually do it properly. Mostly,
Yeah. Yeah,
I haven't
she
figured out
seemed
how to.
really, yeah.
I haven't figured out how to edit them yet, but they
It
create
can
them
make,
well.
I think it can make headshots for you. Did I make that up or is that accurate?
It can, but they all still look like AI.
Okay.
They make me look too perfect, and I mean I'm good looking, but I'm not that good looking. So,
Uh,
so I would love to know a little bit more about how you got started in the world of crypto recovery. Like,
yeah.
what do you? Well, first, what do you do, and how did you get into this?
Well, I do cryptocurrency recovery, and there's a few different ways to do that. So, as an attorney, everybody thinks that you're sitting there in a room and you're just drafting up these incredible documents or poorly drafted documents, depending on the type of attorney you are, and that you're sending those off to different courts, and maybe you're trying to domesticate a judgment. All of that is true, but a lot of what I do as a cryptocurrency recovery, I won't call myself the expert. I have a team of experts. What I do is I just oversee contractually that process. So I'll develop the client. The client will communicate with me. Virtually all client communications go through me, so I will be a part of them. I'm going to be CC'd on everything. And then I'll connect them with whoever in my team I think is best. So you can have digitally misplaced or lost crypto. So let's say you've got an online wallet, you've got an exchange that cheated you, you've got somebody that hacked your wallet, or you just straight up got scammed. Kind of like what happened to several people after the recent Coinbase hack. I don't know if you guys saw that. That was brutal. So they passed
Yeah.
out a lot. I actually had some people contact me, tried to scam my wife out of the Coinbase hack. But thank goodness I'm a little more up to date on how good these guys are at what they do. You can literally get on a phone call with them, and it's a guy right here in the States. He is communicating to you he understands crypto. He's walking you through the process to get into your Coinbase account, and the next thing you know, you're gone. So don't respond to any text messages from Coinbase right now. But in a nutshell, that's one way you can lose your crypto. The other way that you lose your crypto is you have a hard wallet. You think you're in a great place because it's air gapped, but you lose it. Or you had it on a hard drive and the hard drive gets reformatted. I've got a client right now that has in excess of $100 million dollars in crypto on a hard drive that someone else reformatted. And yeah, so we're trying to access the encrypted portions of that drive. And not surprisingly, the paperwork with the keys is lost as well. So what I wish I could tell everyone, I'm just going to do it right now at the beginning. I know this is going to be something that'll come up later. You need to make sure your keys are stored in multiple locations and in a format that cannot be damaged by water or fire, which means stamping in steel. So, or titanium. You can buy those kits now where you get the little titanium placard and you put your 12 or 24 word seed phrase in there. So that's what I do a lot of is I help put together a team to access physical devices that are damaged. And I also have a weird one right now that's kind of unique, but I'll bring that one up later that involves some stolen crypto where someone stole a hard drive.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So what kind of wallets do you recommend then? Like, what do you
Um,
recommend?
so there's Tracer. I think it's pretty good. I don't want to say which one I use. So there's Tracer, there's Nano, there's Tangem if you're just wanting to go for like one of the cards, like one of the safety cards. But the thing about a Tangem wallet is you get three of those. You still need to make sure that your passphrase or seed phrase is backed up, and that's kind of hard to do with a Tangem wallet because it contains it and you may not even know it. Do you guys know about Tangem wallets? I can explain that a little better.
No, I haven't. I'm pretty well versed in crypto, but I've never heard of a Tangent wallet.
Okay, so when you order a Tangent wallet, you're going to get three cards. I actually have one here. Anyway, You're going to get these three cards. If you get the three card kit, it has an RFID chip in there. You take your phone, you hold the card up to your phone, and that's what unlocks. It holds the seed phrase on the card. That's what unlocks your wallet on your device. But in my opinion, I still don't necessarily like that because that's not air gapped. And if you're really wanting to be in cold storage for any long period of time, you're going to need to be air gapped. As far as a air gapped, yeah. So air gapped is you have a device that has never touched the net. It's hopefully not even Bluetooth capable. So you want something that cannot be accessed. Yeah. And so what a lot of people will do is they'll get, you can even do it with an old laptop, but it would have to be one that's never accessed the net. It holds your wallet. You take a USB port, I'm sorry, a USB device of some sort. You create the order for where you want the crypto to go. So let's say you're sending your Bitcoin from one wallet to another. You would make that order on your cold storage device. So it could be a hard wallet, it could be a computer, whatever. But it has to be something that's completely disconnected from the net and hopefully never has been connected. You put in your device, you download the order for where you want the Bitcoin to go to, then you plug that into a non-air gap device, so basically just your regular computer, and send the crypto. And that's what people that are really serious about protecting their crypto are doing, is they are using air gap devices. Now, here's the problem. That air gap device can get stolen. And that is exactly what happened to one of my clients. He had done everything you should do. He had backed up all of the information in hard copy, meaning he had printed it on paper. And the people that did this knew what they were doing. They managed to find both the hard wallet, and this was not an inside job. This was someone else coming in and just they knew what to look for. They found his notebooks and they took all of those, and that's where the paper information was to access it. So we literally don't even have the keys. Like we don't even have the public wallet address.
So what does that look like then? Like, just take us through how now we've got the situation. Now you're problem solving. What
Yeah.
what steps do you take in that situation to help recover it?
Well, it's really unique to each case. So I have cases where the material devices have been damaged. So like a hard wallet that's been reformatted, or a laptop that's been reformatted, where the drive itself has been reformatted. Then then you have people who just simply got scammed, and then you've got people who had their actual physical devices stolen. There's a couple other scenarios, but each one of those requires a little something different. So what I'm looking for is the last people that had access to it, and then I have to form an opinion of whether or not I think that they had nefarious intent. And sometimes that's difficult to nail down because the crypto could already be stolen. So what it looks like typically is I'm going to get a blockchain expert once we get your wallet ID, and we're going to look at whether or not crypto has passed in or out of your wallet since the time it was stolen. So if crypto has been passed out of your wallet, depending on the quantity, then you know that you've already been robbed. Um, it is difficult to get that back because Bitcoin is peer to peer and it's not controlled by any government or power source, power network. It's going to be very difficult once that Bitcoin has gone to another wallet to nail that down. And Bitcoin is pseudo anonymous too. So if that wallet has never had a name associated with it, good luck associating a name with it. It's going to be very difficult. Now, if you could somehow identify the wallet as, I don't know, an exchange. I had a client where I was working with another firm. The exchange he had had his crypto stolen through a scam. They convinced him to send it to a certain exchange. So we contacted the exchange and tried to get them to hold that crypto. Now that's difficult when you're trying to contact somebody at an exchange in Singapore and they're getting, 100,000 contacts a year and you're just
Yep.
one of the people in the wind. So you've got to make sure you have a relationship with the different exchanges. Well, this guy that I was working with, I brought in another firm that there's only like a half dozen of us in the US that do this. And he was like, hey, I think I figured out how to domesticate these judgments in these foreign courts in the countries where the exchanges are. And he did it and he was successful. So he actually domesticated the judgment, which means that, so I get a judgment against a foreign company here in the US, which they probably wouldn't even give me. But if I got it, it would be worth nothing more than the paper it was written on. You have to
Yeah.
domesticate the judgment. So, hey, you're an exchange, you're holding stolen crypto. Here's proof of that. I'm going to go to your courts in your country and I'm going to domesticate to your country this order saying that you have to hold that crypto. So then they'll put it in some account set to the side, and they're waiting for us to come along with some sort of final resolution. And if the other party doesn't show up, then typically by default you get it. So now that we're getting law firms who are competent enough to domesticate judgments in other countries, if we can get it quickly, we can actually claw back some stolen crypto as long as it's passing through exchanges. And some of these scammers are not going to do that. I mean, they're going to send that thing off to cold storage so fast, and it's going to they're going to exchange your Bitcoin for Monero, and then it's gone.
Yeah.
And you know what Monero is?
I I
A
have
little
worked
bit.
a little bit.
Yeah. So Monero is just basically it's truly an anonymous crypto. I mean, if you're I don't, this sounds terrible, but like if you're the bad guy that's going to be, I don't know, hiring assassins off the deep dark web, you're going to be, not be using Bitcoin probably.
No,
Your
because
Bitcoin is
Bitcoin
not going to
is
be, yeah,
it's not anonymous. You can still,
yeah,
if once you can follow a transaction until it hits something that's not anonymous, and at
yeah,
that point you know almost everything that went on in between.
yes,
But it's not anonymous. Whereas if you want to truly be anonymous, you have to go towards something towards Monero. Is
yes.
I have not. I don't know one that I've used that has been anonymous yet.
Most cryptocurrency, can we talk about centralized and decentralized
Yeah,
currencies?
let's do it.
Okay, so if you're wanting to be a little on the safer side, you can utilize centralized cryptocurrencies, so like Ethereum, Solana, your dog coins like Shiba Inu, a lot of those are
Yeah,
centralized. A decentralized cryptocurrency would be Bitcoin. Bitcoin would be the best example. So you're talking about a network of computers, and if you take some of them down, it doesn't matter. You can't take the whole thing down. You would have to black out the entire planet, but then eventually, when it turns back on, some computer somewhere is still going to be running Bitcoin,
yeah.
still going to be running the blockchain. If you have a centralized exchange, you don't have that protection, you don't have that freedom from control. But what you do have is this is a whole lot easier to track down crypto that has been stolen through a centralized blockchain.
And generally, centralized blockchains are cheaper.
Yeah, I mean the network fees. Well, unless we're talking about Ethereum, God help us, those gas fees. Um, do you guys remember the last bull run? Oh my goodness, the gas
I
fees were
remember. I remember
horrible.
that Bitcoin was charging $130 for transfer,
Yes.
and Ethereum was not much less. And that's actually one of the reasons why I switched to Solana over Ethereum.
You're a Solana guy.
Yeah, I am. I am Solana. I actually just paid my VA in USDC today for my first
Really?
time. This is my first time having a use case scenario relevant to me for crypto. Was paying my VA who's over in Colombia, and I was able to pay him in USDC.
Wow. Wow, that's
So
awesome.
I'm just excited about that. That's just like today was the first time, so I'm really excited about that.
Oh,
Um,
finish your camera.
oh, I'm sorry. I just realized that I was going to get a phone call and I didn't have my phone on do not disturb. So I put it on do not disturb so that it would I'm brand new to the tech, guys. This is my I think this is my first time to be interviewed on a podcast. I was doing
Oh,
this back in the day when you went into a studio and it was called a radio show. And you would sit down with a huge boom mic in your face.
Radio, I'm confused.
Yeah, you would
wait a
be.
minute.
You whippersnapper. I remember people hitting me up and they're like, "Hey man, I heard you on the radio the other day. That sounded great." And I was like, "Wow, people still listen to this." Because I would go into a radio show and I would think no one's ever going to hear this. Because you're just sitting there in there with a guy and you're talking. But yeah, that's going out to if anyone tunes in, I mean, potentially you could have a million listeners. You're not. It's a radio show. But yeah, you would you would still hear people, "Hey, I heard you on the radio the other day." So I don't know if it's still that way. That's been about I've 8, 9 years since I've done a radio show. Yeah.
I actually applied to be a radio host at one point in time, which is
You
funny.
would kill at that. You would be great at
And
that.
well, hence I'm doing a podcast now.
Yeah.
Um, so, but no, but I just thought it would be so much fun, and so I applied to my local radio station, and they were like, "You have no experience. You've never been on the radio. No, thank you."
Really?
Yeah, and it
Man,
was like this one in a town of maybe 40,000 people, so it was like a zero radio station, but it
you
was
should have
fun.
gone and picketed. You should you should have got your friends and showed up with lawn chairs and picketed. Put me
Yeah,
on your
on
radio
the
show.
the building's like maybe 20 by 20 feet.
Oh
Like
man,
it would have been like we would have surrounded it. We would have destroyed the whole radio because I don't think they're even soundproofed. Um,
that's raw rejection right there.
yeah. So how did you? Let's go back to the beginning. How did you? What's your introduction to crypto, and how did you get into what you're doing now?
My introduction to crypto was, yeah, I've always been one of those like laissez-faire guys. Don't touch my guns, don't touch my Bible. I've always been,
Amen.
small government, central. Yeah, yeah. I like local rule. I want to be able to go and touch the authorities that are ruling over me, like not in a negative way, but like, hey, I can see you. You're there, not off in DC, hiding behind some bureaucracy, hiding behind
Right.
elected politicians. But so that's me in a nutshell. So I've always been the kind of guy that was going to be looking for something other than our modern fiscal process. Fiat was not fun for me. It scared me. I just could not believe once I figured out what a dollar bill was, that piece of paper with some cotton in it. I was like, I
Yeah.
cannot believe that we all just trust this and they can print this when they want. So when I started learning about cryptocurrency, I was like, oh, okay. I didn't trust it because I'm thinking, well, always got to be some nefarious source that is ruling over this thing. And then once I managed to grasp the concept of, and this is very difficult for a guy who didn't check his first email until he was 19 years old, but I was able to grasp the concept of centralized versus decentralized cryptocurrency. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. Bitcoin is decentralized. It's pseudo anonymous. I'm interested in this. But it wasn't my first purchase. My first purchase was uh, Ethereum was about $100. And I bought $3 of it on Robinhood. And this is back, oh man, like 2019, 2020. And I had been kind of paying attention to crypto since 2019. And I saw Ethereum go from like dollars to $100. And I was like, oh, shoot, I really missed the train. Little did we know. There were still plenty of multiples left on that. So I ended up buying some Ethereum, selling it for like $4.50. I made like a 50% profit. And I was like, I'm a genius. I can do this. So then I got into leverage trading, swing trading, all the different types of trading, and the stress trading and the night sweats trading because you're you're up and you're like, why did I choose so much leverage on this position? Oh dear God. And does anybody remember Bybit? Did anybody trade on
No,
Bybit?
I'm kind of a novice on the crypto. I have some
So
crypto, but I
so
leverage other people's knowledge to make it work for me.
There you go.
between the three of us, we've got someone who's really deep into it, you. We've got a novice of Brandon and me who's I know what I'm doing. I'm above Brandon and below you. So
Okay. I will be more okay. So Bybit is a foreign exchange. So you have like domesticated exchanges, which would be like
Robinhood, Coinbase,
yeah, Robinhood, Coinbase, thank you. Kraken, well, no, Kraken is still
Krakens.
US based and requires KYC, which is know
Yeah,
your customer.
yeah,
So it's like applying for a bank account anywhere. They know everything about you. Then you've got like MEXC, Coinflare, Bybit, the
yeah.
list goes on. And those guys, you can put your crypto on those exchanges and you're trading without KYC. It's truly anonymous. Like it would a government that really wanted to track you down. There was a large, powerful government, a UK, a China, maybe a Russia, a US. So you're talking like one of the top three, four, five powers in the world could probably track down if they wanted to that you were on that exchange doing something. And you almost always have to have a VPN. Now, the only way you still have to off ramp, which means you have to get that crypto back and turn it into currency. So you're going to have to send it back to one of your US exchange. You're still going to pay taxes. Don't be bad. Um, so you're going to send that back and convert that to currency. But anyway, I went through that whole process, and then I had some people come to me and they were like, "Hey, Gabriel, you know about crypto? I lost my crypto." And I was like, "Oh man, I don't know what to do. It's so terrible." And then a light bulb went off, and I was like, "Wait a minute. I'm getting all of these communications because I'm supposed to be able to help these people. I'm an attorney, and I need to figure out how to leverage this into assisting people that have, you know, really lost their crypto and they're in a real tight spot." And so probably 22 was the first time that I actually sat down with a client and was like, "Hey, dude, tell me what's going on." And so they showed me, $200,000 out of their pocket that had been turned into close to $1 million in crypto, and then it had been stolen. Because crypto, $200,000, that'll be $1 million pretty quick, depending on where you are in the process. So
Let me ask you this, because this has been the dying question that I have.
yeah,
Is like, what do you think is right now the best opportunity in crypto? Long play, I don't hands off.
um,
Put it in there, set it and forget it.
I would DC. Nobody's gonna like this. I would DCA Bitcoin into cold storage. I would
What
dollar cost average into Bitcoin. And
Bitcoin?
I tell people if you have no money, give up your coffee and put in $5 a day. The reason that I say that is because I am one of the guys. I'm not a Bitcoin maxi, but I do believe Bitcoin is going to 10 plus million dollars a coin. I do. I really believe that it's going to that, which means you're like, oh, Bitcoin's sitting at 100,000 or 110 or whatever it is today. All that matters is multiples. It doesn't matter if your unit cost a penny or $100,000. All that matters is multiples. If you're going to get 100 multiple, and so like your 1 penny unit is going to go to 100 pennies, then you have 100 multipliers. So if you had $1,000 in there, now you're going to have 100,000. So what I tell everybody is if Bitcoin really is going to $1 million or $10 million, then it would behoove you to get your hands on 1/100th of a Bitcoin, which you could do right now for $1,100. And then you just sit on that. The challenge is going to be there's going to be a middle point where Bitcoin really shoots up and starts hitting three, four, $500,000, and that's where I start getting concerned for people because I think they're going to sell. And I understand. I mean, you're taking those life chips off the table. You're getting the castle, whatever you need, putting your kids through college. I would tell everybody to DCA and put it in cold storage. And if you want to keep it in a hot wallet,
Yeah, okay.
do I know?
Yeah, abbreviations. I'm a slow on the abbreviation.
Oh,
DCA.
sorry. Yeah.
I've been
So,
DCAing my whole life, but I just never called it that.
oh, you never called it that? Yeah, dollar cost average. That's just every day you put in a dollar or $5 or $10. And I've watched people grow incredible wealth in crypto following that process. And I'm not talking about like, oh, they got in, 10 years ago when Bitcoin was so young. No, they just did it the last, 3 years. And they DCA'd in, $300-400 a month, whatever they could afford. They didn't buy the new car, and now they're sitting on $100,000, and they only put in like 15,000.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
I've seen people. It's weird. If you got in 5, 10 years ago, you're like,
Yeah,
whoa.
yeah,
And I did, but I got out and got back into it. I mean, I've got
yeah,
accounts that I had $25 in, or $50 or $100 in that I was just like, I got some extra cash, and in my Venmo account I'll go buy, or my whatever account I'll buy. And I had $1,000 in Bitcoin, and I took it out to buy this other investment that my friend just swore to me was going to take me to the moon.
oh no,
And that was when Bitcoin. I was a third of a Bitcoin. That was when Bitcoin was
oh,
like 3 grand. So yeah, I mean, I'm like, man, if I had just held.
yeah,
So, but that
that's a
was the
good
same
story.
probably had talked me into Bitcoin to begin with, or well, yeah, that network was like, so I was like, well, and I had tripled my money. I think I had bought it for at that point I had already tripled my money.
Yeah,
So, but
that
then
this is a good story. Everybody needs to hear what you're saying right now. This is
Yeah.
good.
Whereas when my Bitcoin story was about 4 years ago, it went down. It was at like 60,000, and then went down to like
Yes.
18,000 for probably a week. It was at 18,000, and I
Yeah.
cashed out. This is stupid. I would never
Oh
recommend
no.
doing this. I cashed out my life insurance policy in Canada, and I needed to bring it over to the States. Instead of bringing it to the States, I dumped it right into Bitcoin. And when it went up to $60,000, I paid off my student loans.
Holy cow, man.
Yeah,
Joel, that's an incredible success story.
that is the only thing that I could say was an incredible success in all of my crypto investing and stuff. Is I paid off my student debt, and I think I've got like $25,000 left in Bitcoin at the moment from that one
Wow.
move when it dropped down to 18,000.
I think we should start a crypto channel and forget this other channel. Like,
Well, crypto is the future. It is the gold rush. That's one of the things I will definitely talk about at some point in this is in the
how
mid
do you?
18.
This is my question: is crypto your main investment now, or are you also investing in the stock market?
I like
I
Tesla.
bought a bunch of Tesla when it dumped, and that's back up, and I've made pretty good. I kind of look at all the markets. I'm curious, but then obviously it dilutes my investment in any one market. And
Um,
my biggest investment is my product developer. That's 10 times, 100 times the investment I make in that monthly than I do anything outside of the
yeah,
market.
but that's an
So
active investment. Your
it
product
is.
developer is an active investment, and your investments. So as far as passive investments go, I definitely, yeah, I've played the stock market. I also, man, depending on who's listening to this, they're gonna get mad at me, but you know what, I'm just gonna say it. I
Good.
actually sold a chunk of my Bitcoin and I bought IBIT because IBIT cannot be stolen. So IBIT is the BlackRock's ETF that is purchasing Bitcoin. And I got some MicroStrategy too, but not a ton. Um, so
Hmm. Wait, so let's
1,760.
talk about that. I'm curious because okay, so you're saying that the ETF is more secure than the wallet?
Yeah,
Okay, it's more secure, it's less liquid. So you're getting something that's more secure, but there's trade-offs here. Can you talk about a little bit about that,
yeah.
Gabriel?
Thank you. That's a really good point. So it depends on who you're trying to secure your crypto from. Right now, you probably need to be able to secure your crypto from hackers, scammers, and even possibly somebody in your family with nefarious intent. Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, absolutely. The people that you think you could trust the most, sometimes you can't. If it is in IBIT and it's in, your Charles Schwab account, and you have to call your accountant and it's sitting there, and you're trying to secure this from other individuals, yeah, it's really safe. I mean, nobody else is going to be able to go through your biometrics to get into your Schwab account or whoever you deal with. The problem is if you're more of my mindset, then you're trying to protect your resources from your government. So if your Bitcoin is 100% in IBIT, yeah, the government can get that whenever they want. They can seize that, use that to pay off whatever they think whatever they can manufacture against you. You can't take your IBIT and just run out of the country with it like you can your Bitcoin. You can't just put it on a thumb drive and I'm not trying to be graphic again, but keister it and then drive across the border into Mexico. So that would be the difference between the IBIT, the shares of IBIT and the Bitcoin. So I have both. And I am in a position in life right now where I'm not terribly concerned about my government coming after me. But there are people in the world who should be and are concerned, and they leave all. I have a client who's overseas. He doesn't mess around with IBIT. He only has his money in Bitcoin, and it is all in cold storage.
What do you
And
think about XRP right now?
XRP, I don't want to be negative. I have
I have a lot of
varied
XRP.
opinions on XRP. I think XRP still has room to run. I'm not the guy that's going to hold on to XRP long term. If I'm holding
Okay.
on to anything other than Bitcoin, it's probably going to be Solana. XRP just it doesn't have the speed that Solana. Solana is the XRP killer. They're both centralized. XRP I think was
So
really
you're
great in
saying
its
that
day.
Solana is the hedge against XRP essentially.
Solana is a hedge against XRP. Yes. Yeah.
That's what I'm understanding. You just said it's the killer,
If
meaning one's going to take or the other one's going to take.
I think Solana's tech is so much better than XRP's that even XRP gurus, if confronted with it, have to admit that Solana is that much faster.
And when you look at the companies behind Solana, Visa and Mastercard are using Solana to help their infrastructure. And
Wow.
when you look at XRP, the big benefit that XRP has over Solana is XRP can be used across the international. It's got all of the groundwork to be used across the international banking systems.
Where are
And
Right.
you
so,
buying? Sorry.
sorry, no,
No,
and
that's
so
that's an
No, sorry.
incredibly good, in a nutshell, the way he just described the differences between XRP and Solana. That's in a nutshell, he nailed it. And I believe that the latter, XRP being able to be used across banking systems and networks, once Solana's network rate and growth is fully realized by these larger companies, then it would take the place of XRP doing that. But XRP is the big dog. They've been doing it for a while.
yeah, at the behest of the SEC.
Yeah.
What do you think is the best way, or what do you think is the best way to purchase? Like, well, I don't want
Oh
to say
yeah.
how I do it, but I have a
So
couple different websites I use. I have a wallet, myself. Like, where do you think is the best way to go about making these purchases? Or,
everybody,
you
yeah, just like honestly putting your money on the easiest way is to put your money on a centralized exchange, buy your Bitcoin, and then send it to a cold wallet. Now, you can meet up with friends and you can tap your little hard wallets together. I'm not doing that. I have so little trust in most of the people that I would be doing that with. But used to, the way that you would buy your Bitcoin is you would call somebody that was on the web on a forum and they're like, hey, I've got some Bitcoin on my hard drive that I mined, and you're like, hey, let's meet up at the local McDonald's, and then they would transfer the Bitcoin into your hard drive. And not kidding, that's how people got started. Now, get you a Robinhood account. Do what?
that's a new one for me. I mean,
Yeah,
obviously you got what is it? Oh my gosh, Coinbase. You
yeah,
got Kraken that everybody knows.
yeah.
You got the wallets, and then
Coinbase
now
fees are
the
brutal. I would do
ETFs.
Robinhood.
Yeah, and
I would do
I'm part of
Robinhood.
multiple platforms, so and I have multiple wallets on certain platforms.
Yeah.
So if any one of them was to get hit, I would not be super devastated. But I mean, obviously, you don't want anyone to be hit. But
A little.
I'm not like able to retire from my crypto either. It's
Uh, so a lot of my clients have their entire net worth in crypto,
right.
everything that they
I
own.
have more in crypto than I do in the stock market right now. But I put the
Oh
same
yeah,
amount in both, but my crypto takes off. So
I'm 80% Bitcoin.
okay, wow.
Yeah, and I don't mess around with real estate. The multiplier just isn't there for me right now. Now I will once Bitcoin hits a certain point, and for me, I'm not entirely certain what that is. But once Bitcoin gets to a certain point, you're going to be able to go to the bank, hand them your Bitcoin, and take out a loan that's borderline on 0% interest, and your
Yeah.
Bitcoin will be the collateral to buy your real estate. So
Yeah,
then
I
I
want to
don't
buy
lose my
land
Bitcoin.
now. I want to start
Do I
buying up
know?
land. I want to start buying up land. I've done real estate in the past, and I experienced all the real problems that come with it.
Yeah,
So I probably won't ever. Well, I can't say ever, but if I was gonna make a purchase now, it would be not land. I mean, it would not be rentals. It would be either storage, or land, and then find an opportunity to create with land, whether it's like some kind of farming, like whether it's just something that's I don't know what I would farm yet, but
Midwest mineral rights. That's if you're going to buy
well,
land and you're
you
going to
can't
have
buy
it pay
mineral
for
rights.
itself.
I don't know if you've looked at the market in the Midwest, but
I
like
almost bought some
up to
last
the
year.
south, and my builder doesn't never got the rights to the mineral rights. Like the previous, I don't know how far back it goes, but it's so hard to get mineral rights. Nobody sells mineral rights
Not
down
in the
here.
Midwest.
All
Yeah,
right,
I don't know where you go to get it, but
let's get back on topic here.
Okay.
I don't wanna go too far away from where we are. Um, but I have a trivia question for you, Gabriel and
Ooh,
Brandon. Here's a trivia question. So one day ago, 15 years and one day ago, the first item was purchased by Bitcoin. Do you know what it was?
pizza.
Okay. Do you know how many Bitcoin he paid for it? If you know it, I'm just say yes, and I'll let Brandon guess.
I have no idea. I'm just gonna tell you right
Oh, like
What would your
18,
guess be,
like
Brandon?
1800.
now. It
Oh,
wasn't that
sorry.
long. I bet
Ten
it's not.
10,000 Bitcoin
Oh my.
for the pizza in 2010, May 22nd, 2010. That was the first
Oh,
transaction.
yeah, I heard of this.
Wow. I wonder how many billion. What is that? It's hundreds of
1.2
millions.
billion dollars right
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
I think I could be wrong on that,
And
but
these things are fun to like look back and think about, but at the same time, like I never look back and go, "Well, I should have," because at that time I knew about Bitcoin when it was $1. Okay,
Wow.
and I don't
I
beat
did not.
myself up for not buying it because there's a lot of penny stocks that I've known about my whole life. And you can't then go, well, I should buy every single thing that has the potential to grow. You're too diluted. So you have
Yeah.
to use the information you have. And You know,
Absolutely. My big
you
thing is
cannot invest
so
on what could have been.
so Bitcoin was in Wired magazine in 2010, and it was at
Wow.
52 cents a coin. And I looked at my
Wow.
brother and I was like, Steven, my brother's Steven. I was like, we should both just put $50 in just for fun, just for kicks and giggles. Do you know what that $50 would be worth right now? Because that would have
Uh,
been a hundred Bitcoin.
yeah.
That would be worth $10,883,710 because we both would have forgotten about it.
Yeah.
Right.
I have a client that did that with about $50, and Bitcoin was, I think, a smidge over $1. He ended up getting 40 Bitcoin. He was drunk at a party, and he said he had this really nerdy friend that was like, "Man, you gotta, there's this thing called Bitcoin. You gotta get it." And the way he describes it is hilarious. And when his case is done, I might have him on for an interview. And the drunk guy talked him into giving him all of the money in his pocket. He walks out of the room. He buys Bitcoin, puts it on like a drive, and walks back in the room and hands it to him. And this is like 2011 or something. He forgot he had it until Bitcoin hit over 5 grand. So that's a chunk of change. That's a couple $100,000, right? I mean, was it 40? Yeah. So then he's like, hey, maybe I need to hold on to this. And next thing you know, Bitcoin hits like 60. Um, he ended up getting robbed. And yeah, over 40 Bitcoin. Oh, I know he has to lay awake at night. The emotional damage that my clients have experienced.
Oh, so
I,
yeah, back
that
to what's the most secure way to store this stuff, or like, what do you like right now? I mean, I'm not gonna go through this like cold or
Air gap.
storage thing where, I mean, other than a device, I'm not gonna spend more than 10 minutes making a purchase, and that's a lot for me, right?
Oh, get a
I want
nano.
to, like you
Get a
said, I want to
nano,
make,
get a tracer.
you know,
so Gabriel, just if you were to look into the future and be a
Hmm.
fortune teller just for a second here for me, and you're gonna sit there and go, this is the product because we're product developers, Brandon and I.
Hmm.
This is the product that cryptocurrency users need. What would you say?
Hands down, we're going to need to have simplified hard wallets. They're going to have to be simpler than what they are now. The tech gurus who are currently manufacturing these products, these are very bright individuals. And to them, something that requires 8 steps is not that big a deal. Whereas you're dealing with a person who barely knows how to send an email, they need their wallet to be like, oh, I tap this, it has the Bitcoin on it, now I go put it in my safe. They need it to be that simple. So we need simplified wallets and wallet processes, kind of like Brandon was just saying, I don't want to deal with spending 10 minutes going through an air-gapped device. So we need a simpler way to have a more secure wallet. I think that is like ground level. I think that we're also going to have simpler payment systems that's gonna make it very convenient for stores. So like I walk into my local mom and pop shop. Yeah, you can spend Bitcoin at certain hamburger joints, and it takes a while to make the transaction happen. But we need to start encouraging, and I would totally be the ambassador for this, all of my local mom and pop shops to here, get this device that allows me to pay you with Solana. I'm
yeah.
sure there are software updates that could be made to current kiosk, but we're going to need something relatively quick. If this is going to catch on and really go somewhere, we're going to need something relatively quick that makes it easier to transact in cryptocurrencies at your local businesses. Yes, it is currently possible. You can get an e-commerce portal that allows people to pay in crypto, but somehow everything's got to be simpler. And unfortunately, I'm not techie enough to be able to fully explain how I even think that should look, but the interface is going to have to be sped up and it's going to have to be reduced in difficulty because you need people that are 50, 60 years old and not tech savvy to be able to go use cryptocurrency that their kids gave them for Christmas to buy a burger downtown. Like, and it needs to be easy. That's going to make it catch on. Using the product always makes it catch on. Now, that's not necessarily the case with Bitcoin because you really shouldn't be spending your Bitcoin that way. You can,
Well, but
but you shouldn't be.
actually, I think that's like, if there was a run like a promotion, or not a promotion, but like an industry expectation that, hey, this year for Christmas, let's all give these crypto cards that you can spend at whatever.
Yeah,
Like, what that would do to the entire industry overnight in one year, I bet it would
that's true.
minimal
So
double on a minimal side, because if all of a sudden it's going to become the standard, you're going to go, wow, this is easy. And all the people that have crypto, if they just gifted $50 gift cards or whatever their normal Christmas spend is to their nieces, nephews, cousins, friends, like overnight you would see, because you would just see it explode.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
I
you would.
would, if I knew that was coming, I would just dump everything I have into it. I mean, I would dump everything into it. If somebody made that device that you could purchase like a gift card,
Hmm.
I wouldn't even, forget about it.
so the big, and I'm just going to talk about roadblocks here because I just want to kind of the big roadblock right now because crypto.com actually created a credit card that you could spend your crypto with.
Oh yeah, I use it all the
Uh,
time.
yeah, the big issue that I have come across when talking with people about that is that every time you spend a transaction, it's a taxable
Hmm.
event. How do you? Because you said you use the crypto.com credit card. How do you get past that? Like, what do you do with
Um,
that?
I have never spent enough for it to be an issue in my taxes. I do use crypto.com quite a bit, and I did use it to pay my rent for several months back in the bull run at the end of 2020, early 2021. But I turned it all over to the tax people, and it didn't seem like it was a huge issue because I didn't spend more than, I don't know, $6,000, $7,000. But
Mm.
yeah, and also like it wasn't $6,000 or $7,000 worth of profit. It was probably like $2,000, $2,500 worth of profit that was
Yeah,
Right.
involved in those transactions. Although it would have been hit with capital gains because it was less than a year in possession. But anyway, yeah, we're at a difficult spot right now. We've got to have some legal
Yeah. Well,
changes.
what legislation would you like to see passed so that we can actually make this thing?
Well, I think the big one's got to be the strategic reserve, and I know that they said that we don't need to spend tax dollars to get it, blah blah blah, bullcrap. I'm gonna call everybody out here, Republicans, Democrats. You need to take tax dollars and you need to go buy Bitcoin right the heck now, because we are getting left behind with some of these other more tech savvy countries. And I mean, we've got small
Yeah, I
countries.
think what is it, El Salvador? It's their national
Yeah,
currency right
they
now.
buy one Bitcoin a day, every day, no matter what the price. That's DCA. That's true DCA. And there's such a small country that that's very difficult for them. And that guy was Bukele. He
yeah,
was mocked, just roundly mocked for about 2 years. And then people
Yeah.
started kind of like, well, we don't think it's a good idea that a country has Bitcoin because they had to quit running their mouth about it had been a bad investment because he was already up like 3 or 4 times. Now I don't even remember what their dollar to return is, and honestly they're killing their purchasing price because they keep buying even though Bitcoin's 100 grand, 110 grand, they keep buying. The funny thing was their initial purchase, like it was like a $17,000. Once it came down, like their average was less than $20,000 because they kept buying that 17,000, $18,000 Bitcoin
yeah.
every day.
Um,
If Yeah,
Yeah, I love that. I think
I love that
uh,
story.
because it's dollar cost averaging at its finest. As you sit there and go, okay, what does it take to actually win in Bitcoin? It
Yeah,
takes dollar cost averaging. The people who try and time the market always fail.
yeah,
Well, no, 90% of them do. I timed the market, so I can't
that's
say that
true.
because I did time the market, but I'd been following it since 2015, and I timed the market in 2018. Sorry, in
Yeah,
2023 or 2022 or something like that. So look, you can't even use my story as saying, "Hey, I'm going to go be able to go in there and do that," because I
yeah.
studied it for 5 years before I timed it, and even then, I've only timed it once right.
And it would be hard to do now because the cycle could be broken. Don't even
This,
we don't even need to get started,
yep, not going there.
but it could be broken.
Yeah,
Probably
so
is. We're probably in a perpetual buy right now. And
well,
it'll do this, but it'll be like gold and go
yeah.
up. Oh,
what are
can I
the?
talk about the gold rush? Oh, go ahead.
No, go for it, go for it.
Okay.
One question too I want to ask afterwards.
Okay, so the gold rush right now, does anybody know about the gold rush in the 1850s with California, the reason California is such a big now?
Yeah, historical conflict gold rush.
Yeah, so
Moving
18,
countries, go mine gold.
do I know?
Like everyone was moving, like like chasing the gold rush, like physically moving,
Yes. Yeah.
and in horse buggy
Yeah.
to go mine gold. Yeah.
So the gold rush, like you're describing, resulted in the massive westward expansion and really made America what it is today. But there was surface gold. There was gold, talk about low-hanging fruit, sitting on top of the ground. And so people were walking through a field and they're like, what is that? Oh my gosh, let's test that. Oh my gosh, that's gold. That's not fool's gold. That's gold. That's gold. And so this massive gold rush started. People are buying up plots and stakes, and they all of the surface gold was pretty much depleted within like 5 to 6 years. But the idea that people had been successful in this particular part of the world at getting gold just the immigrants just kept expanding. You've always got the retail buying the top, man. That's who these folks were. They just kept going to California. The land of plenty, buried in gold. So then you started having to dig for it. Right now, I think a lot of people don't realize that the world's greatest gold rush is hanging there. And I'll explain it this way. There are 21 million Bitcoin. So the software that is Bitcoin that has been released into the wild, if you will, of all of the world's power systems, networking systems, computer systems, the digital age, however you want to personify this SHA-256 algorithm being released into the wild, that is Bitcoin. Every day it releases a certain amount of Bitcoin depending on where it is and the block rate and all of that. That Bitcoin, there's only ever going to be 21 million. What are we currently at? Like 19 million ballpark. So we got like another 2 million left or less. So most of the Bitcoin has already been mined. Bitcoin is going to continue being mined for another 100 years before it like dies out and the software is no longer releasing Bitcoin. So really, the bulk of the Bitcoin is in the world right now. There are serious, serious assessments by numbers gurus like James at Investment Answers is currently saying, and a lot of other people agree, that 7 million of those Bitcoin are already either lost or locked up forever. So if you, as Joe Blow citizen, is just trying to go out there and get a piece of a Bitcoin, it's even more
Right.
valuable than you realize. And once that supply shock truly hits, Bitcoin's going to jump up. Now, here's the deal. They say that 7 million is lost, but I have personally helped clients get back little bits and pieces of that 7 million. That's
That's
the gold
awesome.
rush. Because once Bitcoin, and I think we're getting close to that point over the next 8 years, we will be there. Once Bitcoin is mined in as expansive a capacity as it possibly can be, because there is going to be a talk about deteriorating returns or yeah, anyway, the returns are going to be drastically reduced every 4 years because of the way the Bitcoin
Right.
blockchain works. Within about 8 years, I don't think that mining is going to be super doable for the average everyday citizen. It's already challenging. You've got to drop some serious coin to get a good miner. The Bitcoin that has been lost, that's sitting on your cousin's old hard drive that your mom got for a Christmas present back in 2021, all of that Bitcoin that's out there, one day it's not going to be worth $100 or $500. It's going to be worth 50,000 or $100,000. You're literally going to have a house sitting digitally, the value of it on this hard drive. And that is the coming gold rush. Most guys that I talk to have not grasped this. I definitely know that the vast majority of attorneys have not. So that's why there's so few guys like me who are willing to leverage their professional legal career into helping people attain that lost crypto. The the reality sets in at some point that some people have multiple whole Bitcoin sitting on an old laptop that they lost and they threw in a landfill or in a dumpster. You can read tons of stories like this. And the reality sets in one day, I'm actually a billionaire and I can't touch my own money. And that will mess with you. That'll keep you up at night. I've looked in those
Yeah.
people's eyes. I've looked in their eyes when they're telling me their story, and I want to just like give them like a little hug. I'm so sorry, but I'm going to help you. I'm going to do my best. So your chances of finding and recovering that lost crypto, it varies case to case. It is so difficult to put a percentage on it because to put a percentage on it, you would have to divide into all these different categories. Okay, well yours was lost on a hard wallet. Do you still have the hard wallet? Okay, well that's a category. Did you completely lose the hard wallet and now you're just trying to find the paper keys? Okay, well that's a separate. Okay, did you get scammed? Well, that's a separate category. If you've truly been scammed, it is very difficult to get your crypto back. If somebody conned you into sending your crypto, they're like, hey, go down to the local Bitcoin ATM. Had this happen to a client. Spend your life savings, $30,000 on Bitcoin, send it to us. We're going to turn that into money, baby. And then you do that. Yeah, they just transferred that Bitcoin into Monero and it's gone. So the challenge is unless they put that crypto through an exchange, you're gonna have a very difficult time getting that back. And guys that really know what they're doing, they're not gonna have you send the crypto to an exchange. They're gonna have you send it directly to their wallet. And if you're dealing with anyone who's trying to scam you, that is a dead giveaway. They're going to be trying to get you to send crypto somewhere or give you their keys. So the gold
Wow.
rush, the gold rush is getting that 7 million Bitcoin, finding pieces of it. And that's what I'm
What's
going to do for the next decade.
what's the question that you get asked the most
Um,
from your clients?
I lost my crypto. Can I get it back? Which is a resounding, it's possible, but not probable, depending on the
What are
situation.
your ideal clients? Like who? Like if I lost $100 of crypto, am I a client for you? Or where does it make sense for? At what point? Like what are the kind of clients that you see where you go, yeah, this is a no brainer. We're gonna work with you,
Oh,
and
anything
do
six digits. Yeah, anything six digits. I'm without a doubt we're having a good long conversation. Even if I don't think it's possible to get back. Have I talked to people that had less? Absolutely. I think uh, I've talked. Most people don't care to come to you with $100. It's just
right,
it's not
exactly.
even
I don't
worth
think
their
people like
time. I
to
think
get a number
most
from you.
everybody I've had has been in excess. They've been at the six digit point. I think I had one guy who had multiple cases. And one of his cases was, less than 50 grand. It was like 30 grand and or 25 grand. And I still tried. Like I looked into that to see what we could do, but he had been scammed very effectively. And he had also waited a long time after the scam before coming to me. That's one thing I want to reiterate. If you've had something happen, you need to jump on the ball. It needs to be quick. And nowadays, you may actually be able to call the FBI and get some assistance with that as well,
Oh wow.
depending on the amount of money. Yeah, but I've tried to communicate with the FBI and they just don't. Now, this was before Trump, so I don't know. Maybe the new FBI would be different, but they just didn't care unless there was $1 million of loss. It needed to be seven digits.
Mhm.
They weren't going to waste
What
their time on it.
what's the one piece of advice you want all your listeners or to know?
Oh man, that's good. I should have thought of that ahead of time. Please protect your crypto. Please protect your crypto. The more of your net worth that you have in there, the more you need to be thinking about it. What has so impressed me is the number of people who are holding whole Bitcoin. I mean, these are valuable assets, commodities, however you want to define it. It's sitting there in a hard drive in a shoebox in the corner of their closet. Well, what if there's a house fire? You didn't memorize your keys. Where are your keys located? Where are your like paper? Oh yeah, I wrote it down. Well, where is that? Well, that's in the shoebox too. Oh dear God. So I wish that I could get more of my clients to realize how important it is to think about how am I going to secure this crypto? Go on YouTube and watch some videos. If you
Hmm.
really are just at a total loss about how to secure your crypto, you might should sell it and put it in IBIT for the time being and then wait for an in-kind exchange, which I believe is coming within the next few years. I believe before this current presidential administration is finished, there will be an in-kind exchange, which means, hey, I own 1,760 shares of IBIT. Well, then I can turn that in for one Bitcoin. Where I own 100 shares of IBIT, I'm going to turn that in for whatever the applicable portion of Bitcoin would be. So that in-kind exchange means that I can trade my Bitcoin for shares of IBIT, or I can trade my IBIT for shares of Bitcoin. That,
You say that's owned by
that,
BlackRock?
do I know?
You say earlier that that's owned by BlackRock. That's a BlackRock.
Yeah, that's the BlackRock ETF. But I mean, you have like, what is it? ARK
I
Invest.
I use ARC 21.
ARK,
It's
ARK
ARC
21's
V is
great.
that's the one I use.
Why do you like them? Is it the fees?
Yeah, I decided to go with the lower fees, and honestly, I put it into a Roth IRA so that
Yep.
I'm not paying any taxes on the way out.
Yeah, if you're
Yeah,
gonna
I
be,
want to do something like that because I have some IRA stuff. Um,
you need to be maxing that out every year.
yeah.
And then your
Well, my
wife and
crypto's
your
not
kids and
IRA. I maxed it out, I think, a year or two ago, and I'll probably max out this year. Um,
you
yeah.
you want to max that out with IBIT, R21, MSTR, like if you're into Bitcoin.
I didn't really invest last year because I bought a house and I wanted cash, so everything went cash. And
Yeah.
it saved me because I had a slump for like 3 or 4 months while we were buying the house, and
Mm.
it didn't phase me because I had enough cash to not
Yeah.
only, yeah, my cash is, well, I'm a small business owner, and so that's the other thing. I have a hard time investing past cash, and I don't really consider cash an investment, but when you're a small business, like cash to me has a huge ROI because it allows me to not have to let people go. It allows me to invest in new programs and new concepts and new. It just goes back into the business.
Well, just remember this. In the future, if you invest $110,000 in a Bitcoin today and Bitcoin hits a 10x multiplier, you're going to be able to walk into the bank and they're going to go, "Oh, yes, sir. Thank you, sir, for coming in with this Bitcoin." They're going to get you a nice cold beverage, whatever you want. They're going to have a little room set up for you in the corner. And you're going to be like, "Hey, here's my whole Bitcoin." And they're going to give you incredible interest on that. I mean, right now, I think crypto.com gets 4% interest if you lock
Yeah,
up your Bitcoin in 90-day sessions.
yeah. I have some staked coins as well. What do you think is the best coin to stake, or is it Bitcoin or?
Well, that varies.
So I
Uh,
stake my Solana and I get an average of 7.5%.
that's good, and that's a good return, but it's kind of the going rate for Solana. That's what you would expect. You
Yeah,
can
if I
stake
if
on
I get anything
crypto.com.
less than that, I won't stake it.
Yeah, it's like what do they call it? Picking up pennies in front of a bulldozer. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So okay, so Gabriel, I've got just a few questions, lightning round questions that I wanna
Ooh,
ask you. All right,
hit me.
all right. What is the one tool you can't live without?
My cell phone.
Okay. What's a myth about crypto recovery that you want to bust? Just quick.
You can't get it. You can't get it back. That's a myth. You can't get it back.
All right. What's the most surprising recovery story? Just in a nutshell. Not don't go too deep into it.
I feel like this could be a good one.
I'm still in the middle of it, but we're getting close. It's over 40 Bitcoin. It's going to absolutely change this family's net worth, and we're very close to getting it. I'm not. That's going to be the
Yep.
best one that I've had. That's my favorite, and it's changing like an entire family dynasty.
You already said this. I was going to go one piece of advice for venturing into crypto. You said dollar cost averaging.
Yes.
Boom. If you could talk to your 20-year-old self, what would you tell him?
Hey, buddy, there's this thing called Amazon and Google, and you're going to want to get out of that after about 8 years, and you're going to want to transition into Bitcoin. That's what I would tell myself. But
Okay.
in all seriousness, the best day to start is today. You know, people like, oh, yesterday. No, today. Start today. If you're trying to invest and really change your future, if you're trying to change your stars, as it were, from a Knight's Tale, you need to start investing today.
My man, a Knight's Tale.
Yeah.
You've been weighed,
Well,
you've been measured,
I've heard
and
of
you've definitely been found wanting. Sorry.
similar words of wisdom. Like somebody said, when's the best time to invest? And it's like 10 years ago. But the second best time is right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Right
know,
now, I would start.
right?
And I would start denying yourself something. There is something in your life that you can deny yourself. For me, I really like to go and just like get drinks on the road. So like a coffee, I'll stop and buy like some pop or something like that. And if I think to myself, I would literally sit there and the family would be going through and getting our coffee at Starbucks. And I would go, I'm not going to get a coffee today. And I would put $7 into Bitcoin. And I did that for, oh man, a couple of years before I got super serious about investing. And that was just a way for me to program into my mind, this is worth so much more in the future. Delayed gratification is everything. If you're 20 years old, literally, if you're going to get a tattoo, just go get the words delayed gratification on some prominent part of your body that you see all of the time. Yeah.
This is my advice on that. Is like I don't think you have to actually deprive yourself of anything to become an investor or even to take care of your finances. All you have to do is pre-plan where the money's going to go. Like this has changed my life. I did this when I started my business. I read a book called I think it's called The Toilet Paper Entrepreneur. And I think they're the one that laid this out. So I put all my money comes into this income account, and I can
Hmm.
only spend it when I move it. So I know, okay, this is my operations account. Okay, this is what I'm spending on marketing. This is what I'm spending on payroll. This is what I'm spending on the house. that money is figured out before I ever decide to spend a penny.
Hmm.
There's, it's so easy at that point to say, okay, I'm going to put 10% away into investing.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's so easy. You don't ever think about, and you can do this when you get a raise. Okay, I got a raise. I'm going to increase 50% of that money that I got in that raise to investing. And I'm going
Hmm.
to let the other 50% go to lifestyle creep. And just
Yeah.
be super conscious about what you're doing. And when you see that wealth grow, it is so motivating to put more into it. You don't have to feel like, oh, I'm making a sacrifice. You're like, man, how can I make this thing grow faster? And
Hmm.
you're gonna want to do it. And then also stay away from credit cards. Only buy stuff with credit cards that has an ROI.
Yeah.
Only borrow to buy stuff that is either saving you from spending more money,
Yeah.
or it's an ROI.
All right, so Gabriel, I have one more question for you. Well,
Yeah.
two technically. The first one is, and it goes into the second one. But is your mom still alive? Is your first one?
Is my mom still alive?
Yes.
Yes.
Second, how do you describe what you do to her?
Oh man. What I would say is cryptocurrency, it's a digital fiat killer, and I help people get it back. I always tell people if you've lost your cryptocurrency, I can help you get it back. And that's how I describe it. If I go much past that, I see the eyes glaze over. But when you're talking to, and it also depends on who you're talking to, like young males, they have a pretty solid understanding of what blockchain is. Um, and when I'm trying to tell them, hey, somebody lost something in a transaction or they got scammed, and I'm helping them get that back, they completely grasp it. Whenever I'm explaining it to somebody that doesn't understand what digital currencies are, like what Bitcoin is, I typically spend, at least a few minutes kind of elucidating the topic of blockchain and then explaining what Bitcoin is inside that, like what cryptocurrency is. And even if they've heard the words Bitcoin, they have no idea what it is. I was meeting with a group of attorneys the other day, and I think I spent 10 minutes just telling them what Bitcoin was. They truly had no idea. And they weren't being difficult. They had just never had anyone explain it to them. So a lot of what I do is actually tell people what crypto is. And then once they understand what crypto is, I say, if you ever lose it, call me. Just if you ever lose it, if it ever gets misplaced, if you ever hear of anyone who has lost it, call me.
What's the
Perfect.
what's the typical recovery time span? Like, I'm sure there's a pretty big range here, but
Huge range.
what's the fastest and what's the slowest that you've actually seen it recovered?
It can be as a matter of as easy as just a few days. Most of the time, you're looking at months. If you're talking about domesticating judgments overseas, you're talking about years. If you're talking about, hey, I have this hard wallet and I need to hack into it, no, that can be done in 3 weeks, depending on
Okay.
who
I
I
mean,
put on it as a
I
team.
think really brings it home. But what's the if you kind of go back to the same scenarios, uh what's the likelihood of those things actually panning out?
I don't
Like,
want to be negative. It is challenging. If your
right.
crypto has been lost for a long time, it is very challenging to get back, and I wouldn't be able to put a percentage on it. I tell
Like,
a lot of people, don't hold your breath. Just do I know?
would you say it's higher or lower than 10% recovery for
It
for the
depends on
similar
the type.
reason?
If you're
What?
talking about, hey, I have my hard wallet and I can't get into it, it's going to be higher than 10%. If you're talking about, hey, I got scammed and some hackers took my crypto, it's less than 10%.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough, man. That's why I tell people, please don't communicate with anyone on the cell phone that calls you about your crypto. Don't give your keys to anyone, not Coinbase, nothing. Don't
Yeah.
communicate with them. Protect yourself. This is your net worth, a
What, what's
significant
the
percentage of
what's
it.
the most secure way to make a transfer?
Um, Centralized exchange to a wallet
Would
or
that be
to
like
another.
Coinbase?
Yeah, so if I was going to if somebody contacted me, I've done this with crypto.com. I have a buddy of mine that we've sent CRO back and forth on crypto.com.
Mhm.
So he would need payment for something, and I might pay him in Solana or CRO or vice versa, and we'll just send it from my centralized exchange wallet to his centralized exchange wallet, and you can actually add each other as users, and so it's the same thing as like Apple Pay, something like that. You can also send crypto really easy with like Apple Pay, Venmo, Cash App, pretty much all of your
Yeah.
pay formats on your phone. That's a super easy way to send crypto.
Right.
But I don't know if it's actually your keys. I don't know if you can pull those off the pay apps. But I know it is with Robinhood, Webull, any of these others where you're, or crypto.com or Kraken or whatever. That's actual crypto. And then you can withdraw it off the exchange and put it in your cold storage if you want to.
Right.
Typically, if you're sending each other money, that's a hot wallet. You're not really worried about putting that in cold storage.
Right.
You also don't have $800,000 in that wallet.
No, no.
That's a wallet you have 500, maybe a couple $1,000s in
Yeah,
max.
maybe 5 grand. I might leave 5 grand on the exchange and not worry about it.
Yeah.
And that also depends on your net worth. If you're worth 100 million, I don't know, maybe you leave a couple 100,000 on an exchange and you're not worried about it.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the key with investing, and just the way people look at money. I mean, I love talking money and money psychology, but for me, when I look at buying power, I like when I look at I don't really look at dollars. When I look at how much it would cost, I don't look at dollars. I look at what's how much time do I have to exchange to buy that thing? Like,
Mm-hmm.
how many of my hours do I have to work with a client to be able to pay for that?
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not looking at things that way, you don't understand money and time value.
And that would stop you from buying most luxury cars.
Well, I still am. Yeah, exactly. Well, that's yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I I
I bought my
drive
couch, and
I drive a 2015, and the reason that I made that, I actually walked into the showroom. I was looking at the cars, and I said, if I don't buy this, I'm going to have an extra $700 a month to put in the crypto. I'm going to keep driving my 2015 that has quarter million miles on it or whatever it has. I'll keep it in good running condition, and I'm going to take all that extra money and I'm going to put it in the Bitcoin.
that's exactly what I did. Well, I moved back here from Colombia, so I was starting from zero, trying to build a life in the U.S. I mean, literally from a suitcase to buying a house, a car, furnishing a house, um, clothes, toys, all of it. Like I had nothing in the U.S. I still have a storage unit in Denver that I haven't touched from when I lived in the U.S. I mean, I'm born and raised in the U.S., but yeah. And then the only thing I actually use a credit card for is my car maintenance. I have a 2011 Chevy, and I love the thing. It runs great, but instead of like stop, so I have an account, a cash account, and a credit card. If I go over my cash that I have available for maintenance, which I put money into every month, it's percentage, like we talked about. Then there's an overflow in the credit card, and if I'm under, if I when it gets paid off, the money just starts stacking. Eventually, if it's too high, then I move that money to something else. But this way, I don't have to stack $10,000 for a secure account to pay for car maintenance. I never have to stress maintenance, and I can run an old car. I've got towing on. Not that I've ever had to use it because I've got an awesome Chevy. I'm a big Chevy guy. Yeah, and it's awesome. Like to me, I don't have an issue driving an old vehicle. I have an updated. All the tech is updated in there, so I still got Bluetooth, all that stuff. That cost me $200. I've got wireless charging in it. It's got new tires, new brakes. Like the truck drives great. Gets all the maintenance it needs. I don't have to ever stress it. Yeah. Anyways,
All right,
so
let's kind of back on topic here, um,
yeah,
because we can all talk about like all of us have the same mentality when it comes to that. So we'll just kind of move forward because you can always find money to invest. The question is, are you willing to actually do what it takes to find it? And that's really the core of it. So before we get going, Gabriel, where can we contact you? Say, because I know that your situation is changing kind of pretty close here
As we speak.
as we speak. Yeah, is there like an email address that people can get a hold of you?
Yeah.
Because I was going to give your Facebook, but if that's going to change, I don't want to give that to people because I
Yeah.
want people to be able to find you in a year.
Yeah.
What's in? How can people connect with you?
So there is an email that I set aside for crypto, and it's cryptominingtulsa@gmail.com. So it's crypto mining Tulsa, as in Tulsa, Oklahoma, at
Yeah.
gmail.com. And the reason that I'm not able to give out more information is I'm getting picked up by a larger firm, and we're in talks about how cryptocurrency recovery is going to look with me bringing it into that firm. So it has the potential to really grow what I do, because up until this point, it's simply been word of mouth. People would lose crypto, they would know a buddy that's lost crypto, they would contact me, and I was just taking the cases that I wanted to take in that field. So this would be the first time that I actually got to advertise for it. So it has the potential to be awesome, an incredible jump, but we'll wait and see how that pans out over the next few weeks to a month.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, thank you so much. Again, that was cryptominingtulsa@gmail.com.
Yes, sir.
And if you've lost any crypto, or if you have mined crypto 10 years ago and you're like, I don't know where it might be, send an email to cryptominingtulsa@gmail.com and Gabriel will be able to help you out.
Awesome. Thank you, man.
Okay.
I appreciate it.